Hi, welcome back to David Pattinson's Accused Friends. I want to give the British people some confidence and assurance that the lockdown is going to end soon. They've done this announcement of another 3 weeks, and similar to the announcement that it was just going to be 3 weeks. And I don't want people to, think that this is just going to go on indefinitely. And the simple reason is because the cost of lockdown to the economy is far greater now than the cost or the benefit of lives saved through the virus. And, I've got some additional points that I want to talk to you about, but, a lot of people are getting very anxious, understandably. I'm totally against the lockdown. I was against it from day one. I've been speaking out against it, and the lockdown was wrong, and so getting out of the lockdown is right. And, the government are realizing this simply because the deaths are not what they anticipated it to be, or what they said they anticipated it to be. And, they're copying the health policy from China. They're saying China's a dictatorship. They can round up their people and put them under house arrest. Why don't we do the same here in Great Britain? And the reason they can't do it here is we're a free society, and we have strict laws against unlawful detention, and that every citizen that is detained has the right to defend themselves in a court of law. And of course, the British government has, thrown all that out of the window, and I think it sets a deadly precedent for the future, as I've said before. But the deaths aren't as expected. The cost of the crash in the economy is going to be outrageously high, and it is getting higher by the day. There's also other countries in Europe opening. I'm following these stories like Denmark's got, the primary schools going back. Spain has really dropped its death numbers down, and they've got some manufacturing going on. Germany, there's talk about going back to work in certain areas there. And this is going to create a bit of a wave of momentum. Other countries going back, the death numbers aren't really going to be affected. And so Britain, that likes to copy everyone else now, doesn't have a government of independent thought. Or say, well, we'll just do whatever else is doing. There's also more healthcare supply now. We've had these big stadiums and auditoriums built. There's the Excel in London. There's the place in Birmingham, full of hospital beds. They're only being used by a handful of people just because there's not the need for them. But the supply is there should the death toll mount suddenly. And, that's another reason why they'll lift the lockdown measures. People also seeing these death numbers, they're not intimidated. They're not worried that they're going to die. The chances of contracting the virus may be relatively minimal, but the chances of death once you catch it are minute. Certainly if you're a fit, healthy person, which most people are. And, definitely younger people are going to say, look, I just want to go out and live my life. These death numbers are not anything greater than normal flu numbers for this time of the year. The British death rate is not higher for March 2020 than it is in normal March 2020s. And so people are just going to not be intimidated. Big problem really is that the government wants to save face. They want to say, look, we put you under unlawful house arrest for a very, very legitimate reason, even though in my view, it's against the law. There's absolutely no reason it's ever justified. And, certainly not in this situation. And the problem is if you allow your civil liberties to be tossed under the, into the gutter for a relatively small event like this health crisis, what's to stop the government doing it for any other reason? Maybe there's a vote to overthrow the government. Maybe there's protests against the government. They can just do the lockdown at any time. And, the British people are going to just scurry back to their houses like a bunch of sheep. And it's a very, very sad state of affairs. I think the one the one obvious thing from this crisis is that one reason the government is not going to open the country soon is because they're not intimidated by the backlash by the British people for throwing away their civil liberties and putting them under unlawful house arrest. And that's something that absolutely needs to change. The government needs to fear the people. The government gets its rights from the people. We, the people, do not get our rights from the government. And I'm going to be talking about, an opportunity for British renewal and, getting these lockdowns enshrined in law even more boldly than they are now, that any unlawful detention of the British people is not acceptable. But good news is that the lockdown will be ending soon, probably sooner than you think. And I hope that gives people a lot of comfort. So thanks very much.